The moment Ethan Thompson stood up at our family Thanksgiving dinner and said the words, "Mom, Dad, Liam, I'm gay," the room went dead silent as if a bomb had dropped. This was the same older brother who had spent years making my life a living hell after I came out as gay at 16, calling me names and telling our parents I was just confused and needed fixing. 10 years earlier, on a rainy November evening in our suburban Illinois home, I had gathered the courage to tell everyone at the dinner table that I liked boys. Mom's fork froze halfway to her mouth. Dad cleared his throat and stared at his plate. But Ethan, home from his sophomore year at the University of Illinois, laughed loud enough to echo off the walls. "You're kidding, right, little bro? You're going to throw away everything for some phase." He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed over his Letterman jacket, the golden boy who had never lost a game or disappointed anyone. "Come on, Liam. Man up. Stop acting like a freak." The words cut deeper than any knife. That night, he cornered me in the hallway, voice low and sharp. "If you keep this up, you'll ruin the family name. I won't let you." I cried myself to sleep, convinced I was broken. By the time I graduated high school, the damage was done. Ethan's friends started avoiding me at school events. Dad stopped asking about my day. Mom tried therapy suggestions she found online, all while Ethan kept the spotlight on his perfect GPA and football scholarship. I left for San Francisco the day after graduation with one suitcase and a scholarship to art school, swearing I would never come back. Now, at 28, I had built a life I was proud of. Graphic designer for a tech startup in the Mission District, apartment with a view of the bay, a circle of friends who never once questioned who I was. I dated quietly, nothing serious, always careful not to let anyone too close. When Mom called 2 weeks ago begging me to come home for Thanksgiving, I almost said no, but something in her voice cracked, and I bought the ticket. The table looked exactly the same, oak worn smooth by decades of family meals. Dad at the head, Mom beside him, turkey steaming between us. Ethan, 32 now, sat across from me in a crisp button-down, the corporate marketing executive who closed million-dollar deals and still sent Mom flowers on her birthday. His fiancée, Sarah, had called off the wedding 6 months ago, but he never explained why. He just smiled that same perfect smile and said they grew apart. We made it through the first hour with small talk about my latest project and Ethan's promotion. Then the pumpkin pie arrived, and Ethan stood. His hand shook slightly as he set down his glass. "There's something I need to tell you all." His voice cracked on the last word. Mom's eyes widened. Dad's jaw tightened. I felt the old familiar dread rise in my chest. "I've been lying to everyone, including myself, for years," he continued. "I'm gay. I always have been." The silence stretched until it hurt. Dad's chair scraped back. Mom covered her mouth with both hands. "And me?" I stared at the brother who once told me I was disgusting and wondered how the universe could be this cruel. Ethan sat down slowly, as if the weight of 10 years had finally landed on his shoulders. No one spoke for what felt like minutes. Then Dad pushed his plate away. "This is a joke, right? After everything you put your brother through." His voice was quiet, but the anger underneath was sharp. Mom reached for Ethan's hand, tears already spilling. "Honey, are you sure? Maybe it's stress from work." I couldn't move. My chest burned with every memory I had buried. The time Ethan accidentally left gay slurs on my locker in high school. The family vacation where he refused to share a room with me because I might try something. The college graduation party where he introduced me as my brother who's still figuring things out. Every single time, I had swallowed the pain and told myself it would get better once I left home. Ethan looked straight at me, eyes red. "Liam, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness." I was scared, so scared that if I admitted it about myself, everything I built would crumble. So I made you the target instead. "I'm sorry. I'm so damn sorry." The words hung there, raw and unexpected. I wanted to scream, to throw the pie in his face, to demand how sorry could ever be enough. Instead, I stood up, chair legs screeching, and walked out to the back porch. The November air bit at my skin, but it felt good, like something real after years of pretending. San Francisco had taught me how to breathe again. My best friend Marcus, a fellow designer who had come out at 14, helped me find a therapist who listened without judgment. I learned to date men who saw me, not my past. Last year, I even marched in the Pride Parade, holding a sign that read, "I survived." But sitting on that porch swing, staring at the same maple tree Ethan and I had climbed as kids, I realized survival wasn't the same as healing. Inside, voices rose and fell. Dad's deep rumble, Mom's soft pleas, Ethan's steady answers. I stayed outside until the stars came out, replaying every cruel word he had ever said. When the door opened behind me, I didn't turn. Ethan's footsteps stopped a few feet away. "I don't expect you to hug me tonight," he said quietly. "But if you'll let me, I'd like to try to make this right." Starting with the truth. I finally looked at him. The golden boy was gone. In his place stood a man carrying the same fear I once had. Truth about what? I asked. About Sarah. About why I pushed everyone away. About the nights I drove around Chicago crying because I couldn't be who I was. His voice broke. "I watched you build a life I was too afraid to dream of, and it killed me inside." We stood there in the cold until Mom called us back for coffee. No one mentioned the announcement again that night, but the air had changed. Something heavy had cracked open, and I wasn't sure if we would all fit through the pieces. The next morning the house smelled like coffee and regret. Dad left early for his shift at the hardware store without saying goodbye. Mom moved around the kitchen like a ghost, wiping counters that were already clean. Ethan and I sat at the table avoiding each other's eyes until Mom finally spoke. "Your father needs time." "We all do." She squeezed my shoulder on her way past. "But Ethan, whatever you need, we're here." I drove Ethan to the airport later that afternoon. The silence in the rental car was thicker than fog. Halfway there, he turned down the radio. "I have a meeting with my boss on Monday. I'm going to tell him too. No more hiding." "Why now?" I asked, keeping my eyes on the highway. "Because watching you live honestly for the last 10 years made me realize I was dying inside pretending. Every time you posted a photo with friends at the Castro, every time I'll mention your new apartment, it reminded me what I was missing." He paused. "And because Sarah found my old journal, the one where I wrote about the boy I liked in high school. She deserved better than a lie." I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles whitened. Part of me wanted to celebrate that he finally understood the pain he caused. Another part, the little brother who once idolized him, ached for the years we lost. "You know, I spent my first year in San Francisco in therapy twice a week because of you." "I know," he whispered, "and I can't take it back. But I can be the brother you deserve from now on, if you'll let me." At the terminal, he hugged me awkwardly, the first time in years. "Text me when you land," he said. "I mean it." Back in San Francisco, the city welcomed me with its usual chaos. Marcus met me at the airport with tacos and questions. I told him everything over margaritas on my tiny balcony. "Damn," he said, "that's some full circle karma." Work kept me busy the next week, but Ethan's face kept appearing in my mind. He texted daily, short updates at first, told HR today. They were supportive. Then longer ones. Went to my first PFLAG meeting. Felt like I was 16 again, only this time not alone. One night my phone rang at midnight. Ethan's voice was thick. I came out to the old football group chat. Half of them blocked me. The other half said they always suspected. He laughed, but sounded wet. "Liam, I don't know how you did this alone." "I wasn't alone," I answered. "I had myself. Now you have me too, if you want." The line stayed quiet for a moment. I want that more than anything. Winter turned to spring, and the text became calls, then video chats. Ethan started therapy in Chicago. He joined a running club for gay men and sent me photos of his first 5K, grinning beside a guy named Jordan who looked kind. I found myself smiling at the pictures, the old anger softening into something gentler. In May, Mom called with news. Dad had finally agreed to family counseling, but only if both of us came home for a weekend. I booked the flight before I could talk myself out of it. The counseling office smelled like lavender and old carpet. The therapist, Dr. Patel, had kind eyes and a notebook full of questions. Dad spoke first, voice rough. "I raised 2 boys to be men. Strong. Providers. I don't understand any of this." Ethan leaned forward. "Dad, being gay doesn't make me less of a man. It just makes me me. The same guy who taught Liam how to throw a football and fixed your truck every summer." I added quietly, The same guy who made me feel like I didn't belong in my own family. Dad's shoulders dropped. Tears he never let us see before slipped down his cheeks. I was wrong. Both of you. I'm sorry. Mom reached for all our hands. The circle felt fragile, but real. That night, Ethan and I sat on the porch again, beers in hand. Jordan asked me to move in, he said. I think I'm going to say yes. I smiled, the first genuine one in his presence in years. He seems good for you. He is. But you're the reason I had the courage to even meet him. Ethan looked at the stars. I used to think love was something I had to earn by being perfect. Turns out it's just something you choose every day. Summer brought the Pride Parade in Chicago. Ethan asked if I would march with him. I flew in with Marcus for support. The streets were alive with color and music. Ethan wore a simple rainbow pin on his shirt and held a sign that read "Better late than never." When the crowd cheered, he cried openly, no longer ashamed. Afterward, we grabbed pizza at a little place near the lake. Jordan joined us, shy at first, then laughing at my stories about Ethan as a teenager. Watching them together, easy and affectionate, something inside me healed another inch. On the plane home, I stared out the window at the clouds. The brother who once tried to erase me had become the man brave enough to rewrite his own story. And in doing so, he had given me back pieces of myself I didn't know were missing. 6 months later, Ethan and Jordan visited San Francisco for Christmas. We walked the Embarcadero, lights twinkling on the water. Mom and Dad video called from Illinois, smiling wider than I had seen in years. Dad even asked Jordan about his job. Small steps, but they mattered. Ethan pulled me aside near the ferry building. I never thanked you properly for not shutting the door when I finally knocked. You knocked loud enough, I said. That's what brothers do. He hugged me tight, the kind of hug that erased a decade of distance. I love you, Liam. I love you too. The words felt easy now. As the ferry horn sounded across the bay, I watched my brother walk hand in hand with the man he loved, laughing under the city lights. The boy who mocked me was gone. In his place stood a man who had learned the hardest lesson of all. The truth always finds its way home. True or false? Once someone has caused deep pain through prejudice, can they ever fully earn genuine forgiveness simply by walking in their victim's shoes?